terror charges. That case, brought by the Manhattan DA, will run parallel to his federal case. Mangione was formally charged last week by the DA with multiple counts of murder, including murder as an act of terrorism. His court appearance was preempted by federal prosecutors bringing their own charges that could carry the possibility of the death penalty, while the maximum sentence for Mangione's state charges is life in prison without parole. Julie Walker, New York.
President-elect Trump is suggesting that the U.S. could try to regain control of the Panama Canal when he takes office.
They haven't treated us fairly. If the principles, both moral and legal, of this magnanimous gesture of giving are not followed, then we will demand that the Panama Canal be returned to the United States of America.
Panama's president says that idea is an affront to his country's sovereignty. Honda and Nissan are announcing plans to work toward a merger. Officials are investigating what caused a crack in a Colorado ski lift that forced the evacuation of more than 170 stranded skiers and snowboarders over the weekend. This is AP News. Palestinian medics say Israeli airstrikes on the Gaza Strip overnight killed at least 20 people. The AP's Charles de Ledesma.
One of the strikes overnight and into Monday hit a tent camp in the Mawazi area, an Israel-declared humanitarian zone, killing 8 people, including 2 children. That's according to the Nasser hospital in the southern city of Khan Yunis, which received the bodies. The Israeli military says it only strikes militants, accusing them of hiding among civilians. It said late Sunday that it was targeting a Hamas militant in the humanitarian zone. In addition, the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital in the central city of Deir al-Bala said 3 bodies arrived after an airstrike on a school-turned-shelter in the built-up Nusrat refugee camp. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Rome's iconic Trevi Fountain reopened Sunday after 3 months of renovations. I'm Rita Foley, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, cloudy skies, a slight chance for some drizzle, could mix with some patchy freezing drizzle early on with highs in the upper 30s. For tonight, cloud cover, a low of 31. For your Christmas Eve day Tuesday, cloudy but dry weather conditions with high temperatures reaching up to 40. For Christmas Day itself, a chance for some rain showers developing, low 40s. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently 35 degrees.
See website for details. Bills Happen is not a lender and does not make credit decisions. Must be 18 years old. Not available in all states.
Honey, the credit card bill came and we're maxed out.
Great! Maxed out cards, rent is due, bills are piling up. We just need some extra cash to help us get by for a few weeks.
We should do what my brother did. He went to billshappen.com and got $3,000 the next day.
With our bad credit, I don't think so.
Billshappen.com is different. They are one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with all credit types get up to $5,000.
I'm sure there's a lot of paperwork.
Nope, my brother said it was easy. He did it right from his phone.
If you have a regular source of income, you can be approved for a loan for up to $5,000 in minutes, and your cash can hit your bank account the next day. Bills Happen's lenders have millions of dollars to lend, regardless of your credit history.
Great news! I went to billshappen.com, and we will have our money as soon as tomorrow.
Wow, that is fast.
If you need extra cash, go to billshappen.com. That's billshappen.com. Billshappen.com.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that will focus on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Yes. Good Monday morning, progressives, and welcome to the December 23rd, 2024 edition of Choose Views. 773-763-9278. Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, Twitter Stream, iHeart, YouTube, and of course, email me at richard@wcpt820.com. And yes, it's Monday, the 23rd, 2 days. Today is Christmas Eve. How about that? Devin's like, what? Dude, I got the craziest look from Devin. It's like he had a head snap. Yes, it is. It's Christmas Eve.
Did you ever watch Seinfeld, Richard?
Every now and again.
Okay, so according to Seinfeld, December 23rd is Festivus.
Oh, I remember.
Christmas Eve BS.
It's not, Devin. Come on, man. I remember that. I remember George was it George? No, or was it? It was George. Okay, George Costanza, Jason Alexander's character on Seinfeld. Yes, Festivus. I do remember that. I watched Seinfeld. Not originally when it first came out, and then I got into it, like I think a season or two in, and then of course, like so many of us, we all got hooked in on it in some way or another, and just great. That was great comedy, and nothing like Kramer blowing through the door, and all the different antics of the show. And I do remember Festivus, but I like to call today Christmas Eve. Devin called me. You guys, I tell you, the guys here, Devin and Henry and Alex and Lady B and Mike and all this. They put up with some of our craziness and our goofiness, particularly me, because they have to deal. I'm the first person out of the gate each morning. But the head snap from Devin was like, if it could have been in slow motion, it actually would have been a great scene in a Seinfeld episode if you had seen. That's exactly what happened. Devin looked at me like, dude, you just moved my cookies, dude. What's up with that? But it is Christmas Eve, December 23rd, 2024, and it's also Festivus if you are going to follow Devin down that dark road. And you can catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That's where you can get Jews Views, the short version and the long version. Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive, and Driving It Home with the wonderful Patty Vasquez, The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath. Y'all got to read his articles, too. Edwin writes some really, really good stuff. And of course, Out Chicago and our other shows and whatnots, interviews and all the things that we do here to keep you guys plugged in. Check out our heartlandsignal.com digital platform, because there's lots of good stuff there. There are no Seinfeld episodes there, but there's lots of good stuff there that you can share with your folks. And as I've been saying this last week, and I've been saying this because I know that where we all are, and the anticipation of Christmas and New Year's and so forth. And the question obviously is, how are you going to deal with the crazy folks in your family and your friends and your network that are going to say some garbage to you about this election? Either it's going to be one of two or three things. They sneakily tell you that they voted for Trump, or they tell you that they didn't vote at all, or they tell you that they voted for Vice President Harris, but they did it out of they did it. What's the word I want to use? With the struggle. It was a hard vote. You're gonna hear that. Oh, and this is one I left out, and I made a sticky note to myself. The other thing that you're going to hear about who they voted for is that they voted for a third party candidate. They voted for the Jill Steins of the world, or they voted for whomever else was in their third party universe. And it'll be interesting to hear. Getting over the last bits of, when you're dealing with a cold or a little bit of a sinusy thing, the last 10% of it is sometimes it's like the part that you just want it to go away because it's dry coughs. You guys know what I'm talking about. Not to be too TMI this morning, but you're going to hear those things this next week or so, and we've been talking about it for a week because of the immersion with family, friends, and the like. So I'm curious as to what you think you're going to hear, and if you hear those specific things that I listed, how you're going to deal with them, what you're going to say, how you're going to respond or not, and hopefully you'll be prepared to do what I suggest doing, and that may not be the only thing, and that's ask questions. Get them to explain themselves. And not justify their behavior, but get them to explain themselves and talk about what it is that drove them to make the decision that they did make, either to vote for Trump or to not vote at all or vote third party. Or if they voted for Vice President Harris, they did it with lots of angst and, commentary that they'll throw out to kind of make themselves feel better. I'm just curious. What do you think you're going to run into, and as we have been this last week or so, and how are you going to deal with it? How are you going to navigate through it? Now, on the bless you, Devin's got the sneezies this morning. One of the things that I think will be in front of everybody is this, once we get through Christmas and once we get through the New Year celebration, and we'll be here tomorrow and Thursday and Friday, we're going to do a special broadcast on Christmas Day. But I think that as we get through Christmas and we get through the New Year successfully and happily and with all the joy that comes with that and that we would hope would come with that, that once we get into January, that's when, the world is going to really be looking at what the United States is doing. And, we know one thing that's not going to happen. And I was thinking about this driving somewhere over the last day or so. One thing that's definitely not going to happen is there won't be Democrats who are going to decide to storm the Capitol. We won't see a mob of people that are incited by Joe Biden or Kamala Harris deciding to storm the Capitol. Bless you, the U.S. Capitol. That I can assure you is not going to happen. And one of the things that you can definitely use with people that you're going to be talking to over these next, 7 to 10 days is when someone tries to justify their vote for Trump or this, that, or the other. One of the things you can definitely put back on them is say, well, one thing that's not going to happen, strong likelihood that it won't happen, and that is you won't see a bunch of Democrats storming the Capitol. You won't see the sitting president or the sitting vice president having a rally to inspire people to go down to the Capitol and cause havoc and death and injury to folks. That you can, I'd put money on that one. I doubt that you're going to see our president and our vice president, two very dignified people, saying, let's go get them. Let's go train it. Let's go change the vote. I don't think you're going to see you're going to have to worry about Vice President Harris being worried about the president of the United States endorsing people building a gallows to hang her. I doubt that that's going to happen. I don't think that you'll see a bunch of people raiding the Capitol and deciding to, leave feces in different members of Congress's offices. And I don't think that you'll see some progressive liberal Democrat standing on the desk of Mike, or sitting at the desk of Mike Johnson with their feet up on the desk. I don't think you're going to see that between now and the 6th, or from the 6th to the 20th. I doubt that's going to happen, guys. So we may not have won this national election, but one of the many things that we can hold our heads high. First of all, I know closest only counts in horseshoes. I get that. But as it relates to this conversation around mandate and this, that, and the other, I'm going to talk about what the mandate will probably mean to Trump, or to the 34-time convicted felon. There is no mandate, but the point I'm making on that is they have to own all of this garbage, and we're going to come back to that in a little bit. But staying on this, what you won't see our side acting without dignity during this transition. That's not going to happen. I would be incredibly surprised and shocked, but I'm not even going to go there because I know we're not. That's just not who we are, and that's something to be proud of. This transition of power will be one with dignity and with respect for the country, and it'll be one that's with the respect that comes with being Joe Biden and being Kamala Harris. The respect that they show to themselves, each other as partners, political partners rather, and their respect for the country. You won't see the desecration. And that's something for us to be proud of as progressives. And when I was, thinking about how we're going to navigate through this and making some notes about it, it popped into my mind that, that's the thing that you won't see. So throw it back on them that make the statement about how they voted in these, those three kind of categories that I gave you. And just let them know, say, that may be the case. But one thing that for sure is that on, the 6th or the 7th or any date in January, you aren't going to see a mob of progressive liberal Democrats storming the Capitol. And watch their reaction. Watch their reaction. Put it back on them. Say, I hear what you're saying about why you voted the way you voted, but this is the one thing that you won't see, and that's this. Just see how they react. It might trigger them a little bit. That'll be kind of a good thing. It'll be a good trigger because it's facts. It's not trying to change somebody's mind or anything like that. It's just facts. So, and here's a fact. We're going to take a break. Mr. Sneezy Face over there is giving me the cue. All right, guys, the number is 773-763-9278. Look forward to hearing from you, and we'll be right back.
The Lightning Strike Radio Show.
McDonald's now, they have taken away one of my favorite items. So far, I haven't seen the ice cream cone at 50 cents at McDonald's this year. What's up, John?
I don't know, but where's the McRib, man? I mean, come on, let's get to the real meat of the issue.
Inflation. Okay. Sundays at 9 a.m. on WCPT 820 a.m.
Catch it in a bottle.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. In the mid-1800s, many American women were expected to follow what history calls the cult of true womanhood, where men would go off to work and women would stay home, taking care of the house, their children, and husbands. During the Civil War, many women left their homes to join the fight. Thousands of women from the North and South volunteered to join brigades, while over 400 women disguised themselves as men to fight in the war. In the Union, 20,000 white and African American women worked as nurses, traveling from hospital to hospital, offering care to wounded soldiers, even helping to convince the government to create United States Sanitary Commission to create a preventive, hygienic, and sanitary service for the benefit of the Army. During the Civil War, women were faced with new duties, challenging many men's minds for what should be a proper woman's place.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
Good morning. You're waking up with Richard Chu.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
We're live and ready to hear from you. Text or call us now at 773-763-9278. Same number. Simple as that.
Let's get the conversation going
on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey guys, welcome back to Choose You, 773-763-9278. Yes, it's Monday morning and we're up and about and going and doing our thing. And that means that we want to kind of give you a couple of the Choose You's news this morning and see what's happening over there. The government shutdown was averted. President Biden on Saturday morning signed a stopgap spending bill that funds the government at current levels through March 14th. It also provides $100 billion in funding for disaster relief and $10 billion in assistance to farmers. Negotiations on the bill stretched past the midnight deadline in the U.S. Senate, fueled in part by disagreement over whether to include a suspension of the federal debt limit. Congress last passed a short-term continuing resolution, also known as a CR, to keep the government open in September. That was the last time that they did it, in other words. So they kept the government open, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Is remote work for the wealthy. Remote work is increasingly a privilege reserved for the rich. Former tech executive Rachel Greenlee writes in the New York Times opinion essay, citing research by Stanford economist Nick Bloom. Greenlee notes that people earning $100,000 per year or less have seen their work-from-home days decrease by 16%, while those who earn more than $200,000 annually have lost just 5% of their virtual days. Yet those in corner offices may be the ones who most belong on site. Separate data shows that further away a CEO lives from headquarters, the more likely a company is to underperform. So here's what's interesting about that. For the longest time, and this is my observation, not really anecdotal, for the longest time, people said, the C-suite said, we can't have people working from home because we aren't going to be able to see what they do and manage their work and so forth and so on. As it turns out, the studies are showing it's kind of the other way around, that folks working from home that are in middle management or middle level positions actually are more efficient, and the people who are in the C or the B plus and C suites need to be in the office. Interesting point, but you won't hear them talk about it. All right, when holiday PTO lasts a full month, while many American workers are looking forward to a few days off between Christmas and New Year's, employees of one e-commerce startup are already enjoying a full month of paid time off. Cake's Body is offering its 30 employees holiday PTO in December 15th to January 15th. They began preparing for the quiet period, quote, months ahead, making coverage plans and revising sales forecasts lower for early 2025. No meetings are scheduled and customer service is outsourced. Co-founder Taylor Capuno said on LinkedIn, this, quote, isn't just a nice thing to do. It's good for the business long term. And there are so many professionals who study this that say something very similar to that. So good for them. Where is the role of AI increasing? Large companies are more bullish on artificial intelligence than smaller businesses, according to LinkedIn's latest workforce confidence survey. Just over half of workers at companies with over 1,000 employees have seen the role of AI in their workplace increase in the past year. That's compared to 47% of workers at mid-market companies and 45% of workers at businesses with fewer than 201 employees, possibly because larger companies have more infrastructure to support new tech initiatives and help employees upskill. All right, if they're investing back in people and having AI at the same time, I think that's kind of can be a good mix. Retirees keep going back to work. This one is really interesting. A growing group of Americans have retired and decided to reverse course, and they're going to reverse course, but there are challenges in re-entering the workforce even after only a brief time away. Experts note that many older Americans encounter ageism or find that their skills are out of date amid rapidly evolving technology. However, quote, unretiring has upsides too. For example, one T. Rowe Price study found that nearly as many retirement-age workers are still on the job for the paycheck as those that are in it for social and emotional benefits that employment provides, which goes to show that being connected to folks is a good thing. All right, more cities join the Starbucks strike. Starbucks baristas in New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia, and St. Louis have joined a strike that kicked off last Friday in Los Angeles, Chicago, and Seattle. The workers' unions representatives have said that brings a total to 10 locales at a busy time that, quote, may impact the company's Christmas sales. Starbucks Workers United, which represents employees of more than 500 company-operated cafes, promised a 5-day action that would spread to several hundred stores, unless the coffee giant improves its wage offer. In a statement, Starbucks said the union ended their bargaining sessions prematurely, and it is ready to continue negotiations at this point. So strikes do still have an impact. And last but not least, Party City is closing down. The Party City supply chain will soon be no more. In a video conference call on Friday, just days before the holidays, Barry Litwin, CEO, told staff that the retailer would be, quote, winding down operations and closing all of its roughly 800 stores. Employees were told they would not get severance and that their benefits will end once the company folds. The news comes as discount retailers like Big Lots begin liquidating its stores after its bankruptcy restructuring plans, which hinged on a sale to a private equity firm, unfortunately fell through. So there you go, guys. Some Choose Views news, kind of keeping it in the employment vein today and what's happening in the workplace. Because this is at the end of the year, a lot of these things do happen with companies. Historically, they make these adjustments layoffs, changing in benefits, changing in the allocation of benefits. And in this case, what we saw as a good thing is that the government did not shut down. And I'm curious to know if you guys have any friends, family, business associates that you know would have been directly impacted had the government actually shut down. I mean, I'm just curious. A lot of times people don't know if they, it's sort of a, what's the word I want to use? It's a, what's the right word? It's something that doesn't directly impact them. You know, maybe, 3 or 4 degrees of separation away. They hate the idea that it could happen because of the services that are provided to us, i.e., let's just use TSA as an example since it's holiday travel season. But do you know anyone that would have directly been impacted with their finances, with their compensation, if we had not averted this shutdown? Give me a call if you do, and we'll chat about it. But yeah, guys, we shouldn't have to keep going through this. And I know that that's a whole, that's not a partisan issue. It's become very partisan. But one thing for sure, as I said last Friday, the last 30 times that this has been an issue of fear or concern, Republicans have been in control of the House of Representatives. That's shameful, Republicans. That's absolutely shameful. There's no reason for that, just excuses. And it would be, horrible to see people who have not, bless you, Devin. It would be horrible to see people that we know be impacted by this, but just the functioning of the government, to see that continually get, uprooted or have hit speed bumps when one group is in control of the House of Representatives and the other is not. We know what happens when Dems are in charge. Dems get this stuff done. They push hard. There may be struggles, but we don't get to literally the 11th hour. So, where we're headed right now and what we've been talking about, we all know what that is. But the one thing for sure that we know has been to our advantage is that the Democratic Party, when in charge on a federal level, imperfect as it may be, is working to get things done for millions of people, irrespective of political stripe. And I watched this short interview with President Biden, and this is why I wanted to make the connected dots on this. President Biden was being interviewed, and I can't think of who it was now. He was asked a question. So that once you leave office and that the Trump administration takes over, that there are going to be so many things that you have done and your administration have done for the country that they're going to the new administration is going to take credit for. And he asked a question, and who was it? I can see his face. I can see him, but I can't think of his name. But he's asked a question, and President Biden's response was once again a Joe Biden response. It was Joe Biden looking out for the American people. He basically said, for the country, listen, I don't have my concern, and I'm giving you Richard Chu's adaptation of this. He basically said, I don't care what the political stripe is of the person that's receiving the benefits that we put forth. He said whether they're in red states or blue states. He said now the red states are going to benefit better because of the way in which their leadership has affected them and not done some things to benefit them. He said, but my motivation was to help all Americans with all the different policies and bills and executive orders that we put forward. It's to do something good for the people. And, I'm okay with that. That's all I need, is to know that the president is trying to help everybody, whether they voted for him or not. And it's what Vice President Harris's goal was and is as well. It's to help all Americans, irrespective of how you may vote. And it cannot be overstated. And I know I stated a lot, so I'm giving myself a little bit of push here. It cannot be overstated that is if someone says to you, and this kind of ties back to what, excuse me, guys, what I wanted to say about the holiday, if someone says to you that they voted for Trump or that they didn't vote at all or they voted third party, you should ask them this question. And this is a compare and contrast. How is that going to help all citizens of the country? Just ask them that sort of open question. We understand that I understand, and you're having this conversation with this friend, this family member, whomever, and they say, yeah, I voted for Trump, or I didn't vote, or I voted third party. Maybe one of your questions can be, how is that going to help all of the country? Because it forces that person to speak to their partisan thinking or their non-thinking at all if they didn't vote at all, or their selfishness in terms of third party and that they needed to kind of have a protest vote. But ask them, how is that going to benefit all of the 300 plus million folks in America? Your action to vote for Trump, not vote at all, or vote third party. Ask them that question. Because by comparison, when President Biden was in this interview, I think it was sent to me, it was on Midas Touch, he said, look, red states are benefiting in some ways better than blue states. But my motivation is to help all Americans. So maybe ask that question of someone that comes at you with that garbage. Just try it out. See what you get. How is that action going to help all 300 plus million Americans? And see what their response is. I'm actually curious, to be honest with you. Break time, guys. Break time. 773-763-9278. When we come back, we'll grab some calls. We'll be right back.
Check Up on Health with Chris Whitting.
Italians don't have heart attacks. Italian Americans do. Japanese don't have heart attacks. Japanese Americans do. Now, either our genes changed when we crossed the water or something else changed.
Joe Piscatella underwent emergency bypass surgery at age 32 and has spent 4 decades since then coaching others on healthy lifestyle choices. He says attitude can make all the difference after bypass surgery.
The mental aspect is what keeps you doing what you know to be the right thing for your health. It's not the falling down that is the disaster. It's not getting up. That's the failure. When you get up, you can fall down as many times as you need to, but it's continuing to get up. And that all starts in your mind with a positive mindset. To center your mind, have a positive mind, and it translates into actions that benefit your heart every single day.
With Checkup on Health, I'm Chris Whitting.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, cloudy skies, a slight chance for some drizzle, could mix with some patchy freezing drizzle early on with highs in the upper 30s. For tonight, cloud cover, a low of 31. For your Christmas Eve day Tuesday, cloudy but dry weather conditions with high temperatures reaching up to 40. For Christmas Day itself, a chance for some rain showers developing, low 40s. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently 35 degrees.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
It's Choose View with Richard Chew on WCPT 820,
where facts matter.
Hey guys, welcome back to Choose View. 773-763-9278. Glad to be back with you. So my question again is, how are you going to deal with folks? And we know that it's going to be out there. We know that it's coming. And I will tell you this, the more prepared, the better. But two things that I said. Say if and when you hear those comments from folks these next 7 to 10 days, and this is going to be everlasting, but certainly over the holidays, and that's just kind of where I'm wanting to try to be a assistance to you in terms of being prepared. Ask people or state to people regarding January 6th. The one thing we know is that our folks aren't going to be, raiding the Capitol. And that's a statement. And the question will be, how did your vote for Trump or your vote for a third party candidate or not voting at all going to benefit the most amount of Americans? So I think it's a pretty good question. Try it and see what people say, because it kind of puts them in a position where they've got to answer for their actions without just the standard, well, Biden didn't do that. It'll allow them to have to justify, maybe not, and justify is not the right wording. It'll force them to have to stand on their business, as the phrase goes, and come with some answers that, should have some, hopefully will have some substance to them. But what you'll probably find, which you may already know, so it may not be a big reveal, is that they don't even have the guts to say that they voted based on culture and gender rather than on, the price of eggs. So, I'm just, continually wanting to make sure you guys have that in your brain and you're prepared to deal with what will come your way over these next few days if it hasn't already come your way. There's a great article that our good friend Tom Hartman wrote, and this is coming back to a little bit of what Trump said versus what he's doing. And in Tom's report on Saturday, the question that he poses, which I think is really great, and we talked about this a little bit Thursday and Friday, Trump is already walking back his promises. Why don't the headlines simply read, he lied, rather than giving him the soft pedal? He had a change of direction, or, just say that he lied, because we've seen that just in those last 10 days. Bringing down the price of eggs or groceries is going to be hard. And, other things that he says that he campaigned on and said that he was going to fix alone. It's not even a question of if it were difficult or not. If it were easy, President Biden would have snapped his fingers and gotten it done in 60 days when he first came into office. It's challenging. It takes a cohesive federal government to get some of these things done. And what you can see, the trend line is in the first 2 years of the Biden administration, how much they got done. And then when the House flipped to Republicans in the second 2 years of the Biden administration, they got less. They still got a lot done, don't get me wrong, because we held the Senate. But they had so many more hurdles to go over. And they had so much more garbage to deal with from the loudmouths in the Republican House of Representatives. And the turmoil of the back and forth of the House having these multiple votes with Kevin McCarthy and then with Johnson. I mean, these step-in House leaders, they didn't get anything done. The House Republicans didn't get anything done. And indirectly, that's a drag on the administration trying to get things that ideas to the House of Representatives to come up with solutions for, when you got one party that just can't even elect a person as the quote leader of their branch of the government. So that's why when we talk about President Biden's successes, and I will be one of the first to say, and I spoke about this, I've spoken about this a lot, that the Biden-Harris administration should have been every single day or every single week on a Friday just saying, hey, here's what we got done this week. Here's what they didn't get done. That would have been, in looking back and kind of being the armchair quarterback, it would have been such a great thing to see and have heard every week. This is what we were working on. This is what we got done. Here's what they're dragging us away from and dragging us down from. And here's why it's hurting you, because of what the Republicans in the House won't allow us to get done or won't get it out of the way so that we can get it done. That's the one thing I wish that the Biden administration could have done more of along the way. Okay, having said that, and I know I'll say it again, I think that right now the House of Representatives, or certainly, let me say this a little bit differently, the second half of the Biden administration really was a drag on the country because they got nothing done. They stalled a lot of things. They got in the way of a lot of things. They created more chaos than actual or fixes and solutions to problems that we have in the country. That's a fact. And you have the right as a citizen to speak to that in this upcoming administration, that the Republicans never get anything done for all of our citizens. And that's why I asked the question, or want you to be prepared to ask the question, how did your vote go toward helping the most amount of Americans? And see what you get as a response. Devin, let's grab a quick call. Let's go to our good friend Pam here in Chicago. Good morning, Pam. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Richard. Thank you. And let me just say, really peace to everybody out there, because I know as so many people have, abundance, many people are just struggling.
Yeah.
And really trying to make it. So we have to care, for everyone in our community. So let's do that. Richard, you asked a specific question about Biden. Now, the question was for President Biden, I guess, how are you going to address it? How do you feel that this administration under the sexual abuser will take credit for the good things that he's done, particularly with the infrastructure, act. Is that correct?
Yeah, the question was, he was interviewed over the weekend, and that was one of the questions that was presented to him. How are you going to react to this new administration coming in? And you basically have laid out, red carpet and gold for them to run on, taking credit for things that you have done that they're actually going to try to make their items.
There needs to be a verbal reaction, and it needs to be consistently done throughout the 4 years, because the mistake that President Obama made, he came on the stump for Harris saying, well, they inherited a good economy. Well, nobody knew that, Richard.
Yeah.
So the Democratic Party, they need to have a consistent message throughout that this is why this is occurring. This is the funding that helped get your red state certain projects. There needs to be a consistent response from Biden, from Harris, whoever is in Democratic leadership. Just don't stand by these 4 years in silence and hope that people get it. Next, Richard, let me make this comment really clear, because as a black woman, we have a president elected who hates black people.
Yeah.
That is how I'm feeling. And so if they're going to go through this government, it won't be a department of governmental efficiency. It will be a department of grifting everybody. We are getting ready to feel the big billionaire grift. And let's be clear about it, that Elon Musk, the sexual abuser, and everyone. So I don't know where we're going to do, because I feel they will go through the government and erase any and every program that is going to help black people. I'm fearful of the funding for the HBCUs, and you know what they do for our community, Richard.
Yep.
With this new spending bill budget, I think it said $10 billion to farmers, if I'm correct in that. I think they got through. How much of that is going to go to black farmers?
Yep.
Because previously, the sexual abuser, the found liable of sexual abuse, he gave almost nothing to black farmers. In fact, I think the black farmers had to sue. So as a black person, I feel like we have and I know they don't want to use the word enemy, but let me just say, he has emboldened the hate groups, and now their leader is in the White House. And Richard, that disgusts me. That disappoints. I'm disappointed, and that makes me feel like, where is this country going? Because I feel like hate won.
Yeah.
I just really feel like hate won. Now we have to beat it back, fight back. Our elected officials have to stand up and say something. The Congressional Black Caucus, call hate what it is, because he is the purveyor of that.
Yeah, it's interesting, Pam, and thank you for the.
Thank you, Richard, for letting me say that. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Your first comment was very much spot on. That the collectively Democratic leadership, whether it be here in Chicago, whether it be, as I say oftentimes, regionally or nationally, all across the board, have to have a united message when the Republicans start to mess things up. When they say one thing and they can't get that thing done, we have to be a united voice to say to the country, see, we told you they can't govern. What did you? We told you before, during the second 2 years of Biden's administration, that they couldn't govern. They proved it then. They're proving it now. And not just Trump, or as you better stated, the 34-time convicted felon and twice adjudicated sexual assaulter can't govern. They're going to grift. They're not going to govern. And there's a difference. And there are people that are going to that are in leadership roles that are going to have to decide if they're going to say that or not. And, Pam's right on point. They're going to have to be willing to call it real time. Don't wait a week. And I Hakeem Jeffries is doing good work. And sometimes, you always wish someone could do better or differently, but you still stay behind them and you still push for them and pull for them. However, Hakeem Jeffries and what's her name? Representative Clark, I think that's who it is, that's been standing with him at some of the press conferences. I think it's Catherine Clark. Let me get this right. I get it. Yes, Catherine Clark and the representative from Vermont. They're standing right there with him, letting him know we've got your back. So we need to do the same thing, to Pam's point. We need to push our legislators that when this garbage comes down, that we call it out real time. We don't wait a week. We call it out in the moment. And I hope, as I said last week, guys, I hope that the Democratic leadership across the board, from Mayor Johnson to, the head of the Democratic leadership in the House and in the Senate, and all the state legislators and all the governors will call it out as it happens and not. I know they have Mayor Johnson's got to deal with local stuff here in